Hello, friends. This week we're going to talk about people who get promoted to new managerial positions, and we're going to start leading teams now. Well, if you've been promoted to a new manager, congratulations and best wishes are certainly in order. And I wish you all the same. Whether you've been appointed recently, whether you've been there for some time, whether you're going to become a manager in the future, these episodes are definitely going to help you all. In fact, I would go to the extent of saying that these episodes are going to even help existing managers to better themselves. Not only better themselves, it will help them to move towards leadership. Because once you're a manager, if you do things right and you become a leader, you are going to grow within the organization. And the organization will entrust you with more and more responsibilities. Talking of responsibilities, when you become a manager, I think the first thing you need to realize is the shift in the kind of responsibilities you have now. Till you became a manager, you were responsible for the performance and the welfare of just yourself, that one single person. But once you become a manager and you have a team that works with you, whether it is a one-member team or whether it is a multi-member team, that doesn't matter. But once you have a team, the responsibility that you hold now is not just for your own welfare and progress, but also for that of the team and every member who is there in that team. Okay, so now when you are addressing a team, even if it's just one member, you have now two areas of potential challenges. You have two areas, two people whose performances you have to look at. And even in your case, you would have realized that whenever there is a challenge, you might find 2 or 4 or 6 ways in which you can address it. And then you analyze it and take whatever you think is the best. Now imagine that being compounded by 2. And when you compound it by 2, it just doesn't always become 2 by 2. It sometimes goes exponentially. So now, well, as long as you have 2 members, it is still 4. But when you have 3 members, the work is 8-fold. It's 2 raised to the power of 3. So you need to be aware of all this. I'm not trying to scare you. Trust me. Being a manager and attempting and working towards becoming a great manager is a role that will be truly satisfying and inspiring. Have no two thoughts about it. But to do so, it needs to be done right. And therefore, you need to be sure that you know the ropes of becoming a manager. Fortunately, everyone can learn this, okay? Even if you have not been formally trained, or if you're just coming from the floor, so to say, without having been any informal training also of being a manager, there are things you can learn so that you can become a great manager. Well, you will always make mistakes, but you have to take them in your stride and correct them. Okay, so whether you have formal training or not, it doesn't really matter. You can become a great manager and a great leader. Now, while as with most things, we have the do's and don'ts and what you can do extra to become more than an average success. It's the same with being a manager. There are do's, there are don'ts, and there are additional things you can do. So today, what we are going to look at is some of the common mistakes that a manager makes. Of course, first we are going to talk of the basic things you need to start off as soon as you are appointed for the role of a manager. So we'll first look at that, and then we'll look at some of the mistakes that new managers can make very easily and which you should remember and stay away from. So one of the first things to do is actually regarding skill development of yourself. When you're appointed a manager, you know the profile, you know what kind of an industry you're working in, you know what are the things that go into leading that team for the kind of projects that you're looking at. Talk to your bosses, talk to colleagues, talk to other friends, and find out what is the skill set you require to become a great manager towards a leader, towards becoming a leader. Now, once you have this checklist of what are the skill sets that you would require, now sit with yourself first, analyze what of those skill sets you have and to what level of proficiency do you have them. Are you really good at it? Are you average? Does it need building? Or do you still need to just start from scratch? You don't have that skill set. And to do this, you can use the help of your colleagues. They will, if they're trusted and really honest colleagues, they will give you the right feedback, which will set you on the right path. You can ask friends. Very often friends know a lot more than you think they do. And be very honest, do the soul searching in a true, unbiased way. Okay. Now, once you have identified the skill sets that need working on and the ones that you don't have, start drawing a roadmap on how you will develop those skills to the level that is required. So make the roadmap for all those skills with the path. How are you going to do? With the identified people or sources who will help you to achieve that level of efficiency and proficiency that we are talking of. And once you have this, set timelines. You just can't say, I want to become good at this. You need to set a timeline. You can't wait for 5 years to do something which needs to be done today. By that time, you'll be labeled as a lousy leader or a lousy manager. So this is the first thing that you need to do. Make the roadmap, take help of friends and colleagues, and once you have the roadmap, simultaneously start tracking all the skills that you need to develop or to create within yourself. And make this a primary focus and work on it diligently. A lot of times to develop the skills, you'll be working beyond normal office hours, but that's something that you have to do. That's an investment you will make in yourself and your future. Now, some of the things that you need to start doing after you have done this, the next thing you start doing is starting to work with your team. While there will be a time gap, there are certain things you will need to do immediately. And the first thing that you need to do is start building trust. I've talked of this before. Trust is absolutely critical to having a great, successful, and coherent team. And to build trust, one of the first things you need to do is to be very honest, transparent, and clear with them. So honestly communicate with them, tell them what your visions are, tell them what your goals are, and spell out in detail, including what milestones you want to set, what are the reporting systems you want to set, everything else, the timelines that you want to set on how you're going to work together as a team. Now, once you have done this and the team is on page of what you want to do, because you've told them what your vision and your goals, how you want to do it, you have spelled out the processes, including the reporting functions and everything else, you start working on that. But a very important thing to remember here is that when you are working on this, remember that all the rules that you have set, which you have told your team about, are not meant for the team alone. They are also meant for you. You need to walk the talk. I don't know how many times I've already said this, but yes, you need to walk the talk. Okay. The second thing is give regular feedback. Everybody in the team is not going to be working at the same speed. They are not going to understand everything that you have said in the same way. So you will find that something is happening which is not right. You need to give feedback. So whenever you give feedback, be very honest with your feedback, especially when it is a negative feedback. I know it's very difficult to do that, and one tends to circle around, bypass it, but never hit the target. That's not right. Be very clear. Tell them, okay, while doing this particular task, you did this, which has resulted in something that has happened in that. And that has cost us in terms of lost time or lost money or whatever it is. Be upfront and tell them, but tell them in a nice, open, frank way, listening to them if they have something to say. Okay, don't just keep rattling off as though you are the only one in the room. Okay, and suggest saying that, okay, because you did why we had this, now that we know what you did leads to this, let us try this together. Give them the alternate. Now, if they don't have the skill set, train them, teach them either yourself or take additional help, external help, maybe even get a consultant, whatever you need, but train your team member so that he becomes proficient in what it is that he did wrong. Okay. So once you have done this, the next stage that is important is to be accountable. And the accountability is applicable to your team and yourself both. There cannot be different standards. It has to be all at the same standard. As personally, you need to become self-aware. You need to know what your hopes are. You need to know what your fears are. You need to know what are the triggers that make you fly off the handle, so to say. Okay? And you need to know your blind spots. Now, to know your blind spots, if you knew about it, it might not be a blind spot. So you need to take the help of colleagues or friends or family members or whoever to find out what your blind spots are. And once you have all of this, start addressing them and ask people how you can do better, what you can do better. Because they are aware of your blind spots, they are aware of your weaknesses, they realize it. Listen to them when you ask them this. Don't just ask and think you've done your task. Listen. Not hearing, listening, understanding, and then acting on it. That is very important. Involve the team actively right from the start of the project. How do we go ahead with this project? You have a challenge. How do we address this challenge? Let each one give their suggestions and views, make a list of them, sit with the team, discuss it, pros, cons, which is the better one, this has got less risk, whatever it is, discuss everything, and then come to a decision. If you are an expert, you'll guide them to the decision that you want. But now you've got their buy-in, and therefore that solution will be executed far more efficiently. Now, coming to some of the mistakes that one makes. The first is, as I said, not giving feedback directly and in time, and not prioritizing team building. Team building is absolutely essential. And one thing I'd like to point out when it comes to team building is that you cannot motivate the entire team, every member of the team, in the same way. They are all individuals. They all have their characteristics and traits. So you need to have multiple ways and multiple speeds at which you will motivate your employees. Whenever there's a problem, fix it with speed. Don't let it in, because by letting it dangle, it just expands. It just becomes bigger. And if you're stuck somewhere, please forget your ego and ask for help. Even if it is help from one of the juniors in your team, if he knows about it. Okay? Don't ever think that because you are a manager, some tasks are below you. I know I've been the CEO of a company where when required, because we had a strike going on, I have swept the floor in my office. Because otherwise my office would have been dirty for that whole bloody month. Okay? So don't think that anything is below your dignity. Don't micromanage. Don't ignore teammates' views and suggestions. We just talked about this. Sit down with them, take all the suggestions, discuss them, analyze them, and then reach a decision. When delegated, and you must delegate, but delegate with clarity, explaining thoroughly what that person is supposed to do, and give him the required authority. Very often I've seen that you give the Delhi person a Delhi say, expect him to finish a task, and you have not given him the authority to take a decision on some of the very, very petty things that go into fulfilling that task. And he's expected to come back to you. Don't do that. That's the surest way to demotivate a team member. Okay. Admit your mistakes when you make one. Okay. And correct them pronto. If you don't know how to correct them, ask for help. Don't focus excessively on detail, but focus on the outcome. You may have thought of a certain way of doing it, but your team member, and I always say I like lazy people because they find the shortest and the fastest way to do something. Your team member might find a better way of doing the same thing. Always be yourself. I have seen this absolutely so often, and it is this thing. Very often when someone becomes a new manager, they try to emulate their boss or they try to emulate their mentor. Now, what happens is, whenever you are consciously doing something, you will, but there are times when you are just doing something unconsciously. And the people, your team members can see through it, that what you are and what you are trying to project are not one and the same thing. So always project yourself as you are. And I have noticed this also, people tend to forget very often. We always manage down. We want to manage the team, but we don't manage up. You need to manage your bosses also. Otherwise, how are you going to be successful? At the end of the day, what your team does reflects on you, and what you do reflects on the bosses. So you need to manage up also. Don't delay taking decisions. I've seen so many people procrastinate when they have to take decisions. And not only does it lead to a delayed project, it leads to a severe escalation of costs. Okay? Don't just manage your work, manage your team. Manage all the people in the team. And if you do that, your work is automatically going to be managed. Know the limitation of your knowledge and expertise. There will be times when you find someone in your team knows more than what you know. Take his help. Burn that damn ego. Take his help, but make sure that things get done right and on time. And don't try to show you're busy all the time. Trust me, busyness is not success. Okay? Busyness just means you're inefficient. Another thing, I haven't seen this with new managers really, but it happens when new CEOs or someone steps in. They want to make massive changes in the operating system as it exists, only because they have to show that I am doing this. That's nonsense. Don't make massive changes till you understand why that system is in place the way it is. And even when you want to make changes, make small changes, make sure they work, and then go on to the next change. Okay? And don't try to be the cool boss. You will lose control over your team. Because then they start treating you more as a friend, not even as a colleague, more as a friend, and therefore controlling the outcomes becomes very challenging. Don't adopt the my way or highway attitude. I think we just discussed this. Listen to your team, sit down and analyze, and find a team that is our way. Okay. One thing that definitely happens in human psychology is that as soon as you are promoted to becoming a manager, you have a burst of ego and you have that star mindset that, oh, I'm the star, I just got promoted. Burn both these things. Don't have a start mindset and don't let your ego inflate. And something that happens because you want to just prove that you know a lot. Very often I've seen that leaders, especially new leaders, will go and do the work of one of their team members just to show him that you know. But that's not a solution. The solution is to train him, teach him, even if you need to take external help or get professionals to train him, but train him so that he does his work. How long are you going to keep doing his work? So having seen in this episode What are the things you should not do? In the next episode, we are going to look at the things that you should do. And maybe in the episode after that, we will look at the key things to do to move from manager to leader. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you very much for listening. Do send in your comments, and I will be more than happy to respond to them. Bye-bye.